Hey guys, I got a little bit of a different video for you today. So I have been thinking about how I can help you guys a little bit more. And so one thing I came up with was thinking, maybe I can offer to you guys kind of a question answer thing. And so I was thinking about what is one of the most common questions that I get. And so on Wednesdays, I will start offering to you guys a question and answer. And this week's question and answer is a good one. It is, how do I prioritize my self love without abandoning other aspects of my life? That's a gooder, hey? Okay, there is so many layers here that I can't even get into all of it on this video, but I'm gonna try and keep it short-ish and also give you a nugget to work with. Ready? Let's go. Isn't it amazing how much guilt we stack on when we begin to entertain the idea of self-love? First, I would say about this question is, number one, the real question is really, how do I prioritize self love without feeling guilty? The rest of the question, which was without abandoning other aspects of my life, that's just our crazy justification mind, which I will be referring to as the bondage brain, that's coming up with all these nutty reasons to not evolve or change or grow. That bondage brain that's saying, I'm afraid that if I do this, I'll have to abandon other aspects of my life. And if I begin to prioritize self-love, your bondage brain wants to keep you in your safe zone of predictability, right? So it's afraid of what else is going to have to change. So the same mind that created this idea of wanting to prioritize self-love, of it being a problem, is definitely not going to be the same mind that creates the solution, correct? And to add to that, wherever there is a problem, the solution is actually always present, which means there's actually no problem other than our perspective. So this is how I coach my clients in a lot of our calls. There's so much going on in between the words that are spoken, and to me they're reflective of what programming is running the show and making decisions, and the exact reason why they're not experiencing the life that they desire. So let's unpack some of the layers, like I would in one of my calls, and discover what's hiding in the shadows of what's being said. So I already showed you the first layer, which was a justification mind, that bondage brain that's coming up with the reasons to not evolve or change or grow, because it wants to keep you in that safe zone, right? Using fear, saying that if you prioritize self-love, some part of you is going to have to be abandoned. Well, most of us buy into it like we always have because we're afraid things are going to change in our life, and self-love becomes just a fluffy idea that maybe one day we'll choose to explore when the circumstances are right and we've got nothing else to do, right? If you choose to abandon self-love, guess what? Self-love will also abandon you. Or you can choose to abandon your circumstances, which may not be the most evolved version of you, and you don't love them anyways, so there's actually no threat there. Already, we're starting to see how programmed we are to keeping ourselves small. Listen, guys, even amoebas operate with more of an elevated intelligence when it comes to growth and evolution compared to most humans. Because even though they don't have a brain, and even though they're a single cell organism, they seem to really get the point that the whole purpose of life is to expand and create, which is a literal definition of life if you look it up in the dictionary. But for some reason, we accept mediocre lives that are not about growth. There's somehow the shame and the guilt that we've been programmed with during the first 7 years of our lives, during that disorientation phase by our parents and society, have us believing that if we do this, we are selfish. Is that how you feel too? Okay, well, let's go a little deeper because today we're going to step outside of the bondage brain and discover the truth. So a couple days ago, I was flipping through one of my old journals, and I was reminded of a time when I was transforming this belief in my own self. And I wrote in my journal the questions. First, how much am I allowed to have? And the second question was, how much is too much? Now, when I wrote this, I wasn't specifically talking about self love. I was meaning more in general terms, but then I got to thinking it's all the same because the amount that you prioritize your self love is going to be the degree to which you believe that you're worthy of receiving the goodness that you desire. Most of us have this weird upside down thinking that we need to flip the right side up. So I invite you right now, when you think of the idea of giving yourself permission to even entertain, just to begin to entertain, prioritizing, loving yourself, how much is too much? And how much are you allowed to have? Wow, hey, those questions really let you see where your limits lie. They will expose the beliefs that don't support this natural way of thinking. And they will also start to drive you crazy because you're instantly going to feel like a child again who's asking, how much cake or candy or money can I have? How much am I allowed to have? I keep telling my clients, we continue living out the unresolved issues of the first 7 years of our lives on repeat until we deal with them. Now, before you groan because you're frustrated with the repeating circumstances, let me remind you that this is a gift. This is happening for you because here's the magic. You want to achieve certain things in your life. You want to manifest, but you've created these limits for yourself that you are stuck inside. So the universe gently and consistently orchestrates experiences to bring these things to your attention. And most of the time we get too wrapped up in the frustration and the struggle and the resistance of it to even notice the message. You see, the universe wants to give you everything that you desire. In fact, it wants to give it to you even more than you want it. Because more than anything, it wants you to know that you are a magnificent creator. It wants you to feel it. It wants to validate that in you. And it wants to prove it to you and say, yes, but, and this is a big but. You are so wrapped up in what you are allowed to have. You're consumed by societal rules, and you're obsessed with your limits, seeing only what you perceive as reality in the physical plane, rather than exploring what life would be like if you, not anyone else, gave yourself permission to prioritize feeling and receiving unlimited amounts of self-love. Don't worry, you're never going to exceed the maximum. Most of us are so deprived of this. We're like nomads in the desert, super parched without water. Our hearts are parched without a lack of self-love. So dig into the spring and then dig deeper than what you think you're allowed and realize that you don't really need anyone's permission to do this, because you are now going to give yourself permission without layering on the guilt. Because if you don't, you're going to have an incredibly hard time manifesting your dreams and receiving all that you desire. You will have to use the old way of force to get what you want, rather than the natural and easy magnetic power of the invisible, which allows you to create effortlessly. Here's how this works. When you don't believe you're worthy, you have to climb over a Mount Everest-sized mountain of undeservingness, and you have to prove it to yourself before you can begin to receive it. This is the long and exhausting road of using force. David Hawkins, who wrote the book Power versus Force, explains that there is another option. We don't have to push relentlessly, because all we are pushing against is actually our unsupportive beliefs, nothing else. It's you versus your beliefs. It's a battle, head to head, in the ring, blow for blow, and usually you submit because you're exhausted before you even win the fight, right? But lucky for you, there's another way, and you are here today so I can let you in on the secret. The other option, instead of using aggressive force against your unsupporting beliefs, is that you can bring in the most powerful energy, the most transformative energy of love into your reality. You can fill up your love tank right to the brim. And if your love tank is full, guess what there's no more room for? Unsupportive beliefs. And just like in my video where I talked about leveling up your desires using the lift lock system for boats, If you haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube. We fill up our love tanks, up, 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 and it begins to overflow and it gushes out everywhere. It fuses into every area of your life. And then those unsupportive beliefs try to crawl back into the tank, and there's no more room. And they end up floating away in the river of love that you have created, that is abundantly creating miracles in your life now. Doesn't that sound like a much more fun and a way easier path to take? It's the one that I have signed up for. So first, notice the belief, notice the pattern, notice the theme, and thank the pattern and the universe for the message, and notice how you are seeing the world through a limited perspective of belief. And that is what's going to show up in your reality, because it's a reflection, it's a feedback system. It's reflecting it back to you, because as you believe, so you'll receive without exception. So I really want you to get this. It all comes back to you. If you're not receiving what you want in your life, you have to look at your own belief systems and your perceptions of what you feel you are allowed to enjoy. What you were taught is too much, and what label you were given if you wanted more than what was your share, right? Okay, so it's time to fill up our love tanks a bit more, and to shift to beliefs that match what you want. So when I value myself, when I prioritize myself, I simultaneously begin to come through for myself. And that means that the world can reflect that awesomeness back to me. So now I can see the importance of it. And when I come through for myself consistently, I know that the world mirrors my beliefs back to me on the physical plane. And that means that the world will come through for me the same way consistently. And that will be the new reflection. You see, the mirror is not broken. It's our perspective of ourselves and our worthiness that needs some upgrading. So you can choose the road of hard work through force and struggle, through overcoming and guilt or fear. Or you can choose to float effortlessly in your overflowing love tank and watch the world miraculously reflect this new image back to you. Sharing is caring, so please send this to someone who you feel may benefit from this. And if you like this and you want more of it, feel free to join our weekly live group realignment calls, and you can get your specific question answered. All right, lovelies, that's it for today. Remember, you are ready, you are worthy, and you are the magnificent creator of your own life. Mwah.